That's the one and only Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics. Had 17 points in Game 1. He and the Celtics look to avoid falling in a 2-0 hole series tonight. And, of course, that is the star of the Miami Heat as we speak, the one and only Jimmy Butler. Getting set for Game 2. Look at that big face coffee on it. He was charging $20 a cup, Mike Wilbon. Now it's probably about up to $30. Making money on and off the court, but that's what he does. Jimmy Butler hit the game-winning three-point play in Game 1. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the latest chapter in a budding rivalry. Sports Center with Stephen A. You know what time it is. Let's go.
We're going to need a game from everyone, and it has to be an absolute strength of one.
We got to compete for 48 minutes, and we're looking right at it.
Every inch, every detail, man. Everything, dog.
Hard to imagine a second-round matchup any better than this. Did he headbutt? This is a hard-fought series between two competitive teams.
I got the utmost respect for that team. They're the reason why all three of us came together.
I'm checking house today.
Into traffic, got it! And one! Jimmy Butler delivering. Can they get it done at the defensive end? Got downhill. Bam says, get it out of here!
Welcome to SportsCenter with Stephen A. Smith.
Since their last title run in 2008, there's been a couple of times the Celtics were in this position in a conference finals, sniffing that scent familiar only to true title contenders. They came up short in the 2010 NBA Finals due to injuries and the late, great Kobe Bryant, accentuated with a kiss from Metta World Peace. They came up short again in 2018, courtesy of LeBron James, despite pushing the Cavaliers to a Game 7 without the services of Kyrie Irving. But here they are again, knocking at the door after blowing 3 double-digit leads, after losing a buzzer beater to Toronto, hell-bent on reminding the basketball world that champions are synonymous with a Boston franchise that already has 17 on its resume. There's a problem, though. It was supposed to be in the form of Jimmy Butler, Miami's new leader. But Goran Dragic, who dropped 29 in Game 1, says, hey, excuse me, Kemba Walker isn't the only point guard in this series y'all need to be talking about. And obviously, there's a sensational block by Bam Adebayo, putting the Celtics on notice that there will be no uncontested layup or dunk lines in this series if he has anything to say about it. Begging this simple question for the Celtics. You're down 1-0 in this series. You can't afford to be down 2-0. So what you gonna do about it? We're waiting. The Boston Celtics have taken some tough losses this postseason. They've already blown 3 double-digit leads, including a 14-point lead in Game 1 against Miami. Only the Clippers have blown more double-digit leads this postseason. Entering Game 2, Boston already has 3 losses either at the buzzer or in overtime in the playoffs. They've lost each of those matchups by a combined 7 points. If Boston is able to reach the NBA Finals, they would join the 2009 Orlando Magic as the only team in the last 20 years to get there after losing multiple playoff games at the buzzer or in overtime. We bring in my man Mike Wilbon, PTI fame. Mike Wilbon, let's get right to it. This is a team I believe you have picked to win this series and advance to the NBA Finals. Talk to me about your thoughts on Boston following Game 1.
Well, Stephen A., don't we have to start with Kemba Walker? I mean, we've referred to him. You referred to him already. I mean, you look at some of these numbers. I'm going to go to the glasses, as my friend Tony would say.
I got mine.
Last 3 games, 13 for 46 from the floor. That's 28%. I'm no math major, but I know enough. The last 5 games, 5 for 34 from 3. 14%, Stephen A. And it's not like his problems are limited to one end of the floor. He's allowing the guys he's guarding to shoot 52% overall and 56% from 3. So Kemba's been a problem both ways. I don't know if this is something that he's just in a slump. Can he pull out of it? Is it that simple? Is he having trouble being usually the smallest guy on the floor, dealing with, one opponent after another, now Miami?
But doesn't Marcus Smart somewhat make up for that, the way that he's been playing? I know the guy can play defense, but I have never seen Marcus Smart shoot this effectively.
No, especially
Drop
three-pointers.
6 3-pointers last game.
Yes, but they need Kemba. Look, they're an ensemble. I know Jason Tatum is a guy who is now, for a lot of people, I don't know where you voted for him, but he's no worse than a second-team All-NBA player. I get that. But we're not talking about an iconic Celtic yet. He may become that. We're not talking about Russell. We're not talking about Bird. We're not even talking about Paul Pierce. He hasn't established himself to that degree, Stephen. So I think they need all of those guys. Yes, Jason Tatum with a, 30-point, 14-rebound game. I know he got rejected. I know he got rejected.
Yes.
But he still had a great game one. I didn't like selling for that long three at the end of regulation. Still, great player. Is he with those other iconic Celtics? Not yet. And while he's en route to getting there, they got to have everybody, including Kemba, play well to get this series.
Two quick answers to these questions. Is Gordon Hayward needed back, A, and B, is Game 2 a must-win for the Boston Celtics?
It's not a must-win. It's a nice win. It's a needed win. And in terms of Gordon Hayward, look, they've won. They've advanced without him. I think you're going to see them be cautious with him, Stephen A. I think we're looking at a Game 3 or Game 4 usage for Gordon Hayward off the bench, where he can help them. Look, you can still get in foul trouble. You can still have somebody turn an ankle. You can still have somebody in a slump. And that way you can plug him in wherever you need him.
Stay right there. We're coming right back to you. You and that dapper tie. If I bite it, don't get mad at me. I like the tie. I really do. Jimmy Butler hit the biggest baskets for Miami in Game 1 with the Heat down 2 in the fourth quarter. His three-pointer with 22 seconds left gave Miami the lead. Then with the Heat down 1 in overtime, his and 1 over Jason Tatum gave Miami the lead for good. Here's Butler on executing late in games.
I don't think it's just execution. I think we're in really, really, really good shape, mentally. And whenever you're not tired physically, you can concentrate. You can remember plays. You can do this and you can do that. We pride ourselves on that. And I think as of late, we have been playing great basketball late. Now, we just got to do it for the entire game. We've yet to do that.
Back with Michael Wilbon right here. There's an individual that happens to be your favorite player in the entire NBA. His name is not LeBron James. His name is not Kawhi Leonard. His name is not even James Harden or the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who is your favorite player in the NBA and why?
Has been Jimmy Butler for several years. And part of this is the Chicago tie, but part of that is the toughness in which he plays all the time, both ways. There are so many guys, Stephen A., as you know, who can score 28, 35, 40 points in a game, yet they don't have the impact of Jimmy Butler in a 22-point game. I think it was just 20 in that last game because it's both ends of the floor. When he made that last and one, did you see the way his players responded to him and the way he did to them? There's a stat I do care about.
Sure.
Jimmy Butler against LeBron James, regular season and postseason, head-to-head matchups in these cases, 17-17. If we go through the league, there's not going to be that many players in either conference in this time. So if guys in this generation who can claim a 500 or better record, I'm not talking about guys in a different conference. Jimmy Butler and LeBron have been a lot of that time in the same conference. 17-17 is his record against LeBron, which says plenty to me, much more than scoring average and shooting percentages and what Jimmy Butler's doing from three, because so much of it is when he does it as well.
Well, guess what? They can end up meeting in the finals for all we know, Miami against L.A., which would make me incredibly sad since we'll be stuck in studio as opposed to in one of those cities because they're in the bubble instead of Miami and L.A., but that's a different story for another day. When you look at the Miami Heat, if they were to get to the NBA Finals, the name Goran Dragic has to come up. He dropped 29 in Game 1. We've been talking about Tyler Hero. We've been talking about Duncan Robinson. We've been talking about Bam Adebayo. How underrated is Goran Dragic at this point in time?
Forget he's been around so long. He hasn't been in many huge late series playoff games, but there's enough experience, and there's always been a certain calmness about him. Not only that, look, there is some experience. Jay Crowder, Andre Iguodala, of course, Jimmy Butler, UD if he plays, not much. But Dragic is really important to that because on the other end, Stephen A., when you got Duncan Robinson, Bam, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, you're talking about no or next to none when it comes to playoff experience at all for those guys. And Dragic can calm that down. It means you don't have to have Jimmy Butler on the ball. There's a toughness. It gives Coach Spo some flexibility and versatility with that lineup. I don't know that you're always going to get that many points out of him, but you don't need to. There are other ways he contributes all the time.
You know what that means? It just elevates your point initially about Kemba Walker because with Goran Dragic playing the way that he plays, it puts even more pressure on Kemba Walker to perform. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that as the show progresses. With the Heat chasing their 4th NBA title in franchise history, hear how Miami's winning culture and championship DNA. Welcome back to SportsCenter with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith here. Here's Bam Adebayo as we are a couple of hours away from the Celtics and Heat in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals on ESPN. Miami looking to take a 2-0 lead in the series.
asking me about Patrick Beverly, who I sent him home before.
He got the shot off.
Paul George just got sent home by me last year in the playoffs.
Do you believe that players actually get in the zone?
I do.
Don't mess with Dame Dollar. He's not the one.
It's Dame time.
Welcome into the show. The man that averaged 37.6 points per game during the regular season for the bubble, 50% shooting from the field, 44% shooting from three-point range, the one and only Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. Before I even get into this Western Conference Finals, because I know you've got a lot to say about that, you certainly had a lot to say about Patrick Beverly and Paul George via Twitter in light of them losing in Game 7 the other night to the Denver Nuggets. Talk about that for a second. What prompted you to comment like that the other night?
I mean, I wasn't even really watching the game. I saw, I started watching like in the third quarter. I honestly thought the Clippers was going to get it done. You know, they're a great team. And once I saw that they were down, I was like, man, this game getting interesting. So I kind of just tuned in at that point. And I got a tweet from CJ. And he was just like, man, you got some room in Cabo, you know, just kind of throwing a joke out there. Yep. So then I was like, man, if this really happened, this would be crazy if they really lose this game. And I just sent a tweet after that. You know, I was just being funny, man.
In light of the fact that y'all lost in the first round to the Los Angeles Lakers, how are you feeling about yourself and your team's prospects moving forward, considering Denver, the Clippers will be back, the Lakers obviously will be back? What does next year look like for you personally in light of what you saw you guys do in the bubble?
I mean, I don't think anything really changes. Last year, I think Denver was a great team. I think they were the 2 seed last year, and we played them in the second round, Game 7 as well. But I think it's going to be competitive in the West always. You know, it's always going to be a hard time, and we always up for that challenge. You know, I feel fine. I think coming into the bubble, I said it before we got there, if we have a chance to make the playoffs, then, you know, I'm going to be there 10 toes down, and I'm going to give you my best. And I think I did that. And obviously we ran into the best team there. So it was tough for us. We had our work cut out, and we came up short. You know, we don't make no excuses. It was what it was. They outplayed us. They got us out. And we just looking forward to the next one now.
As you look at this Western Conference matchup between the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets, who are you favoring? What do you think is going to be necessary in order to get to the finals?
I think like anybody else, I would favor the Lakers. But you got to respect Denver. You know, I think what Jamal Murray's been doing, obviously Jokic, the way he, you know, passes the ball, he scores in the post, he makes threes, you know, just a crafty big man. You know, he's trouble for anybody, especially when he's doing everything. But I think, you know, what the Lakers have thrown out there against the Rockets, they did it against us. You know, where they show attention to the guards. You know, if you're a scorer, if you're a dominant guard, they're not going to allow you to play free. They're going to send bodies your way. They're going to make you play against a crowd. They're going to keep fresh bodies on you. And I think that's what Jamal Murray should expect. I saw it. James Harden saw it. And I think he'll get the same thing. And I also feel like having AD guarding Jokic, you know, he's capable of guarding Jokic, or at least giving him a hard time with his length and athleticism. And then you got JaVale McGee you can put on him, and you got Dwight Howard you can put on him. Even LeBron can take some reps on him. Like, they have bodies and people with ability to give him a hard time. But Denver, they move that ball. They play together. You know, they got that spirit, and, you know, they're going to have a chance.
Let me go back to Jokic, and I don't mean this in an insulting fashion because he is big time, but it's like he can't jump from the street to a curb or on a curb. And for some reason, he seems absolutely positively unstoppable. Can you explain to me why no one can guard this guy? What is the issue? What is it about him?
I mean, skill. You know, he takes and makes awkward shots. Timing, and he's he thinks the game. You know, he's not trying to use his athleticism or speed to do anything. You know, he's constantly thinking the game and manipulating foul calls and doing sneaky stuff. You know, he'll shoot it when you don't expect him to shoot it. He'll shoot it off the right leg. You never know when he's going to shoot or pass. So I think that presents a challenge for anybody. It's similar to how Zach Randolph was. Like, this dude had 14 rebounds, 26 points and 14 rebounds, and he playing below the rim the whole time. Not really athletic. You know, he just finds a way to get it done. I think Jokic is similar and just has that knack for scoring and rebounding and seeing the plays as it's happening or before it happens. And it's tough to deal with.
Last question for you. With no interior defense, no rim protector on Denver per se, who do you anticipate will have the biggest series, Anthony Davis or LeBron James?
I think LeBron. I think at this point, you know, I thought LeBron against us, he had the first game, you know, it was like a filling out process. And then as the series went on, you know, I think he became more of a problem for us. And then in the second round, it was the same. You know, you see him chase down blocks. You see how dominant he was in that series when you got a chance to watch it. And then going into this series, I think he was probably expecting to see the Clippers. And not that, you know, he's looking down on Denver, but I think he's looking at it like, you know, I can't let this opportunity to get back to the final slip. And I think you're going to see him come out and be super aggressive and try to really dominate the series and, you know, get punch his ticket to the finals.
Superstar Damian Lillard right here with yours truly. Thanks a lot, my man. I appreciate the time.
For sure. Appreciate you having me, bro.
All right. More to come on Kawhi and Paul George falling short of their championship expectations. Michael Wilbon weighs in on the magnitude of the Clippers' collapse. Plus, the countdown continues. Moments ago, Boston Celtics coach Brad Stevens announced guard Gordon Hayward has officially been ruled out for Game 2 of these conference finals. Hayward injured his ankle in Game 1 of Boston's first-round series with Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. That's good, D. Stop playing with me, man. Yeah. What's up, boy? Good? I'm good, boy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Stay healthy, bro. Have a good one, bro. Stay. Hold it. I got you. I'm low. Hey! Ah! Good hands, boy. Next shot is going in, bro. Trust me. I'm good. Yes, sir. Okay, get him off. Okay. Yes, sir! Come on! Game time. Wow.
Kemba Walker started off this postseason shooting nearly 50% while averaging 23 points as Boston went 6-1 in its first 7 games. In Boston's last 5, however, Kemba is averaging under 15 points while shooting under 15% from three-point range. That is not good, and it is appropriate to bring in our next guest, Coach Jeff Van Gundy, who'll be on a call for Game 2 between the Heat and Celtics tonight on ESPN. Talk to me about Kemba Walker. Why is he struggling so much in your estimation, Coach? Is it simply his shooting from three-point range, or what else are we missing?
Well, I think Toronto did some different things to him, box in 1, triangle in 2, to try to limit him, which opened things up for other players. And then I think his size is a factor. But, Stephen, I'll say this to you. I got to work with him in the World Cup this past summer. There is no one who has a better spirit about him than Kemba Walker. He will not beat himself by either losing confidence or getting so preoccupied with his own dilemma that he hurts the team. This guy will bounce back. It is hard to play well the further you go because it's usually against better and better teams. But I have absolutely zero doubt he'll bounce back and play well.
I don't blame you for that doubt, although some may not share your optimism. But I'll ask you this question. If he doesn't bounce back soon enough, does Boston still have a shot to win this series without him playing well?
Well, it's a difference between playing well and shooting well. And I would say it depends on the degree. Obviously, they can, as they showed against Toronto, they can win enough to advance if he doesn't shoot well. I don't think they could win and beat this very good Miami team if he doesn't play well. And I think the more defense he occupies, they're blitzing some, they're switching some. Other guys like Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown are getting more and more opportunities. So he has to play well, but he doesn't necessarily have to shoot well each and every night.
You've mentioned Marcus Smart. He's been my MVP for the Boston Celtics throughout this postseason. The way that he has shot the ball, we know what he does from an energy perspective, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if anybody anticipated he would shoot as effectively long range as he has been shooting. How surprised are you by that? And do you think that could be enough to offset whatever shooting woes Kemba Walker has?
Well, I think he's very confident. Brad Stevens always refers to him as a home run hitter. He's not willing, he's not afraid to get up there and take his swings. Sometimes he'll take a questionable shot or two, but you can't have guys at this level of play who are afraid of the moment. He certainly isn't in all aspects. I think the attention that Kemba Walker was given both by Toronto and now by Miami will open up things for Smart. I think Miami is still going to be content with Marcus Smart having shots based on percentages, but Marcus Smart is unafraid of the moment.
We saw him hit 6 threes, Coach. We saw Jason Tatum drop 30 and 14. We saw Bam Adebayo with that huge block against Jason Tatum. And we also saw Jimmy Butler pretty much help close the deal in Game 1. But Goran Dragic has not been mentioned, and he actually had 29 points. How pivotal is he for the Miami Heat in this series?
Well, when everybody talks about Miami, they talk first about Butler, then about Adebayo, and then they get to the young players. And Dragic is often overlooked. He had 29 in the Game 1, their leading scorer. He is really hard to guard in both pick and roll and in transition. He's crafty, he's quicker and stronger than people think, and he has been getting it done since being reinserted into the starting lineup due to Nunn's sickness. So, a big move by Eric Spoelstra to get him in the starting lineup, play him more minutes. Dragic has absolutely delivered.
Continue to do the great work that you and everybody else with your team has been doing in that bubble, Coach. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
You got it, Stephen. Take care.
All right.
All right, we got to play free. We got to play hard. We got to play smart. We got to play together.
Well, we got down. How many teams were here? 22. How many are left, fellas? At midnight tonight, it's going to be 4.
Denver playing with such confidence right now. Jokic, he's got himself a triple-double here in Game 7.
I am absolutely shocked. Give this Denver Nuggets team a lot of credit. They have taken the fight away from the Clippers.
They are the comeback kids from Colorado.
That hurts. It hurts. But we move on.
You know, you watch Paul George right there saying what he said. Nobody wants to hear that when you blow a 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets. Give the Denver Nuggets its props. They deserve all the credit in the world for the way that they perform. There's some young Lions. They are part of the big future for the NBA. But the Clippers, no one can really measure the level of disappointment that they have exhibited. The bottom line is this. Paul George came up short. Kawhi Leonard came up short. Lou Williams came up short. And as a result, there are so many question marks. We don't know whether Doc Rivers is going to be back or not, although we anticipate he will. In terms of the players themselves, Montrezl Harrell, we don't know whether he's going to be back. We don't know what kind of moves the Clippers need to make or will elect to make in the offseason in light of this colossal disappointment, considering the draft picks that they gave up, who they depended on. Kawhi Leonard, you're the face of the franchise, reigning NBA Finals MVP, 2-time champion. You come in, and not only do you tell the Clippers, I'm not coming without Paul George, and you get the Clippers to trade a boatload of picks to Oklahoma City just to acquire him, but then you turn around, load management, practicing when you want, you know, electing to play when you want to, not play when you want to. It's just an entire big mess right now, something we did not anticipate would happen, Mike Wilbon, but nevertheless, it did. When you saw what you saw in terms of the Clippers' collapse against the Denver Nuggets in Game 7, what went through your mind about Kawhi? What went through your mind about Paul George?
I didn't understand it at all. And so yesterday, Stephen A., I think we both got in our Wayback Machines and had to go to our reporter hats that we wore many years ago, because I wanted to just ask players, current players, recently retired players, executives, club executives, what are you seeing here? And the interesting thing I found out, and I think you did too, separate conversations, same result.
Yep.
People disliked the Clippers.
Outside of Kawhi and Doc Rivers.
Outside of Kawhi and Doc Rivers. And they found that the spirit was so different. Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, they thought there was far too much talking, far too much bravado, far too much arrogance for a small group that hadn't really accomplished anything. And I thought about this. If you look back at what Kawhi had surrounding him in Toronto, you look back at the personalities and how different they are. Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, different demeanor. And it's not to say that one is right and one is wrong, but I don't know that Kawhi Leonard operated best in this environment that he was in now, particularly when you compare it to what he had last year in Toronto, how those guys interact. Now we hear some disagreements that might have been had between, what was it, Harold and George? I mean, it seems like, Stephen A., these were not necessarily on-court things that derailed the Clippers as much as other matters, chemistry, spirit, demeanor, those kinds of issues.
But when we mention chemistry, spirit, demeanor, how much culpability falls on the shoulders of Doc Rivers and his coaching staff in light of those three elements that clearly were missing?
Well, you look, and particularly in basketball, because it's such a small room, you look at a veteran coach like Doc. We heard all season. And I believe this. I've known Doc Rivers most of my life growing up in Chicago and being aware of him and knowing him. I root for him.
So do I.
And we know how good he is. And we all gave him an advantage, the Clippers an advantage, in large part because of Doc. And I still believe in that. He said in the immediate aftermath of that loss, put this on me. I don't know that I want to put it on him, even though that's what a great coach is supposed to do that. But, Stephen A., they're going to have to make those personnel changes.
That's where I'm going next, Mike Wilbon. Do you keep this team together?
No.
You do not keep them together.
I don't keep all those other parts. You mentioned Montrezl Harrell's a free agent.
That's
and by
right.
the way, will be a valuable one.
That's right.
All right, to somebody. But are they going to, pay big money to all these guys? Are you going to have Marcus Morris? I think Patrick Beverley's got 2 more years on a deal. Mm-hmm. I'm swapping those guys out. I need a different demeanor, a different spirit around Kawhi and Paul George.
But I do need the big three together. Lou Williams, 2-time six-man of the year. He only averaged 10 points and was shooting like 15% from three-point range. I got to keep him. I got to keep Paul George and Kawhi.
Think about changing Paul George. By the way, there's an elephant not in the room we haven't mentioned yet. I got any number of texts in my text chain watching that Game 7. And every single person said, you know who they need? They need Chris Paul.
Without question.
They need Chris Paul. Now, I don't know whether Chris necessarily wants to go back there. And so we're not talking about yet where Chris wants. And they'll find that out because he's earned the right to play where he wants.
As long as they're going to pay him and let him stay in Los Angeles, he ain't going to mind. He's not going to mind.
I wouldn't think so. But if we're talking about any basketball factor, who do they have that's a reliable, dependable, not just dependable, who do they have with the ball in his hands? Do I want Kawhi having to have the ball 80% of the time? No, I don't. That was not asked of him in Toronto. It probably shouldn't be asked of him in Los Angeles. So, Chris Paul, can you fit him? Can you get rid of enough pieces to go and say we want to get Chris Paul back here?
They need a floor general without question.
They need a general. He's a general.
They need a general without question, but so does Milwaukee. That's a different subject for another day. Stick around. Mike Wilbon. Love you, bro. Coming up, we're breaking down Bam Adebayo beyond his game-winning block. Why the Heat's rising star is a crucial key to Miami's title hopes. Plus, find out which of these moments
we're on like we've been doing all the season.
Here's why. So far in the playoffs, Miami has an impressive overall net rating of 7.0, which ranks third among playoff teams. But when Adebayo is on the court, the Heat's net rating soars to 12.9, which is astounding. When he sits, Miami has a net rating of negative 5.7, which is really bad. That massive differential is the same as LeBron's. Why? Because Bam pretty much does everything. This season, he became just the second player all time to lead a team in rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, and blocks. The other?
I'm about to check right now.
Someone else Magic Johnson saw make a few great plays. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1974-75.
Through 10 playoff games, Bam Adebayo leads Miami with just over 11 rebounds and 5 assists per game. Along with the 16 points per game, he could become the youngest to average 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists over a single postseason since, wait for it, Irvin Magic Johnson, according to the Elias. After a thrilling game 1, Jason Tatum and the Celtics looking to avoid a 2-0 hole tonight as they face the Miami Heat in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, that's tonight on ESPN. Welcoming back in Mike Wilbon. Bam Adebayo, you saw him. You saw that tremendous block. I mean, when you look at him right now, one of only 2 centers averaging at least 5 assists per game this postseason. Him and Jokic are the only 2. Talk to me about what you've seen from him and why he impresses you so much.
By the way, those 2 guys you mentioned, that's why I don't believe in small ball. I don't want to hear about small ball. When you can find talented players who are 6'9" and above who can impact a game like this, you know, it was interesting when Magic tweeted that, I think that's how he first distributed through a tweet, that it was the single greatest defensive play he'd ever seen in the playoffs. I felt validated. Yeah. Because I went straight to Bill Russell. That's when I see him go up, straight up like that, and Bill Russell wasn't 7 feet. It was more about Bam size. Mm-hmm. And he would block with left or right hand. And that play, I mean, the ball is down. The ball's down, Stephen A. It's going to be in the basket.
You saw his wristband.
You could have broken his wrist.
Somebody could have broke his wrist.
So for him to make that play, but I just think when you can rely on an anchor like him, and you also have that mindset among other people, Jimmy Butler obviously has quite the same mindset. I mean, Bam Adebayo, the numbers may put him in a certain category, and that's great to be in that company with the names we saw, including starting with Magic and our dear friend Charles.
That's right.
But I just think the overall impact, the numbers don't give it to you. When you make a play, people don't want to recognize that. When you make that play, if he had done nothing else that game, it was worth the salary he made on blocking that shot.
How does Boston answer or deal with him specifically? Because you're going to have to deal with him in order to win this series.
But play the same way they played. They lost by that much. They lost by maybe the greatest defensive play in the history of playoff basketball. Play the same way. They need to get more out of Kemba, right? They got to get more out of Kemba. He doesn't have to be great like Jeff Van Gundy says, shooting the ball. He's got to be better defensively, not allowing 57% shooting by his opposing players.
I would remind you they lost Game 3 of their previous series when Anunoby hit a shot at the buzzer. 5/10. But they ultimately ended up losing the next game because it was hard to recover from that devastating blow at the end.
I would think this would be easier to recover from, don't you?
Why? Why, Mike? If he just blocked a dunk.
I know, but that bomb out of the corner, you wilted. You wilted. I mean, maybe you feel the same way about both losses. I felt the loss to Toronto was going to be difficult to come back from. I don't feel that this loss will be as difficult. Again, I don't think it's a must-win. People are going to overstate that. You think it's a must-win?
I think so. I don't think you can afford to fall down 2-0 to Miami. No, not in the conference finals, not that thing. No.
Don't tell Denver you can't fall behind by 2 games. Don't tell the Nuggets that.
Please, ain't no home court advantage.
No, there is none.
They don't have to go to Boston, the TD Bank Garden to play. Stick around. I'm about to make you laugh, though. Let me transition. You know what it's time for, Mike Wilbon, right?
Do.
Did they tell you what it's time for? Yeah. Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh, let's get to my list. You know I couldn't wait to get back to this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to number 5 on the list, please. Look at this right here. I'm sorry, that's not Paul George. That's Jason Tate. That's the block. That's Bam Adebayo. That's the tops of my list. Bam Adebayo. Look at this block. He almost broke his wrist. If that was somebody else like Shaq, Mike Wilbon, he might have broke his wrist. No, you didn't, Bam Adebayo. No, you didn't remind us of what blocked shots actually look like in the NBA in the modern day era. Oh, no, you didn't, Bam Adebayo. No, you didn't. Let's go to number 2 on my list, please. I'm sorry. Here's the right list. Now this is at number 5. Did you see that? I'm sorry. This is number 2 on the list. My apologies. Jaylen Brown, huge poster over Anunoby. Look at that one. That was nasty. That was really nasty right there. That was Jordan-esque type hops. You understand? We don't see that all the time. Usually guys got to run and start. They don't just put forth the vertical leap. That is nasty. It's so nasty, Anunoby ain't even in the picture half the time. That's how nasty it was. Oh, no, you didn't, Jaylen Brown. No, you didn't. Let's go to number 3 on the list. Marcus Smart. Look at this play, y'all. Look at this floater. Look at him. Lord, I can shoot better than that. I mean, my goodness. Marcus Smart's been shooting very, very well, but that's very, very embarrassing to throw up a shot like that. He doesn't need to be shooting floaters, Mike Wilbon. He needs to be shooting 3-pointers. That is ugly.
Saw Serge Ibaka.
Let's go to number 4 on the list. Jazz Nuggets, Mike Wilbon. Look at this sequence. These 3 turnovers, 2 missed shots. Look at this going on. I wish I could speed it up like a bloopers film or something. Look at this missed layup right there by Donovan Mitchell. Here comes Denver. Michael Porter pushing the basketball up the court. What is he going to do with it? Is this Grant here with the ball? Look at him driving into the lane. He misses an air ball layup. We don't see many of those, but that's what happens. Now Donovan Mitchell comes back with his bright green sneakers. I don't know why. Look at that turnover. Jamal Murray's got the ball. He's giving it back to Grant. He throws an alley. Oh, Lord, Porter, Lord. I mean, maybe his back was hurt. I don't know, Mike Will, but I don't know. Maybe it was a back. Let's go to the last one right here. Paul George. This is not Game 7, ladies and gentlemen. This is before Game 7. Paul George, look at this, throwing it away. Oh, my Lord. Who was he thinking about throwing the ball to? Who was he looking for? There's nobody in the vicinity but Clippers coaches. It was Clippers coach Sam Cassell. As if he needs to look like he's got an attitude even more so than he usually does. Look at him right there, just disgusted at that.